Draft Bros.
What is going on? Welcome to Draft Bros. My name is Alex, owner of Hail Mary Sports, and I am joined today by my co-host and awesome personality, Broshmo.
What's crack-a-lackin'? It is your boy, Shmo, and we got a channel here where we're going to be talking all kinds of football, but seeing that we're both very draft-oriented, we figured we'd probably start with draft material, like the quarterbacks, because guess what? We have some quarterbacks in this class. This is a fun class to talk about, Alex.
It is. We have some of the best talent that we have seen, and we've had some of the more risky talent that we have seen. Some guys who have some extremely high highs, some extremely low lows. So it's going to be definitely intriguing because I already know for a fact we have some very, very, very differing rankings.
Yeah, you could talk. Yeah, you could put your own takes in the comment section.
Please do it. Boost the
We're
algorithm.
all about our bad takes here. We're all about it. So we're going to be doing our top fives. We're going to be starting from 5, going to 1. And Alex, why don't you start us off with the number 5? And of course, we'll talk about some of the guys that didn't make the list at the end of the video.
Absolutely. I think you guys should wait till the end of the video, not because it boosts the algorithm, but you can do that too. But because there's some really cool names that we have to talk about. There's a lot of flyers that honestly are sometimes just as fun as the guys that we're going to mention. But at my number 5, I have Quinn Ewers out of UT. The dude came out as one of the best high school prospects. No, horns down. I go to SMU. It's something I got to do. But Quinn Ewers, he has a big arm. He has some crazy mechanics in there. But for some reason, the dude cannot hit the deep ball. Just not a fan myself. Obviously, we'll go more in depth whenever you bring up Quinn Ewers, which I assume is going to be this or the next one. God forbid if he's number 3. But we'll see. Oh, shit.
This is my number 3.
Okay. This is going to be a fun episode. But yeah, Quinn offers a lot of really solid foundation. I just think that he needs to refine his game a lot more, and especially when it comes to consistency deep.
Yeah, I mean, I might as well talk about him here.
Sure.
Like, the dude's throwing motion is wonky. It's kind of like sidearmed, right? But it works for him. It's fine. It's fine. I think he's got a really quick release out of it. He's a guy that can make these off-platform throws, and we've seen good Quinn Ewers. Let me take you back to that Alabama game before he was knocked out. The dude was solid. He was carrying that team up and down the field, man. Like, he was walking that Alabama defense. So it's like, I think the makings are there. Just a little bit more consistency could go a long way. And to be fair, I mean, we should give credit to Steve Sarkisian's offense. Like, he's kind of a really good offensive mind and enables a lot of the open passes. And to be fair, I think another thing with Quinn Ewers is he doesn't always go through progressions. Because I feel like, there's a lot of not necessarily missed throws, but missed opportunities there. And a lot of just not seeing the open guy or not going to maybe his second or third read. So, at this point, like, a year of consistency, I think it puts him in the top 10. I got a top 20 grade on him currently.
Top 20 in terms of overall, not in terms of
QB. Not QB.
Yeah, I was like,
he won
up now.
I was like,
hold on a second, dude. Like, damn.
So, do you want me to talk about my number 5?
I would love to hear about your number 5.
Because it's Bo freaking Nix.
Nah.
I know, dude. Everyone remembers this guy being crap at Auburn. To be fair, he was. I mean, he was there when the Gus bus was in town, right?
Yes.
Oh, jeez. But like, he highly sought out recruit, 5-star recruit. I think why he joined Auburn, because I believe his father played quarterback at Auburn. And unfortunately, it ends up being not a great choice. Like, I mean, a lot of people early on his freshman season, he was fantastic. There was a lot in terms of tools you were drooling at, because I think he's got a good arm, nice strong build, coming in at 6'2", 214. So he's above that threshold for the quarterback position. And just things kind of fell apart the following 2 years. And he goes to Oregon. And honestly, he looked like a different player for the most part. Like, he opened the year against Georgia. Again, not ideal. And kind of looked like, this is the guy I remember from Auburn. But I think as he got kind of more ingrained in the offense, he looked much, much better. Because I remember that Georgia game, man. I was like, this guy's just throwing to
Mm.
spots. He's just throwing to spots. He's not reading the defense. But I felt like he did that much better as the season went on. And the dude's got the touch. He's got the zip to consistently push the ball downfield. He can, good athlete, really good athlete. But I think he's at his best as a rhythm passer. If he can get the ball out early and go through one or two quick progressions and
Mm.
just get this offense rolling. And I mean, at this point, outside of age, because he will be 24 when at the beginning of his rookie year,
Mm.
just seeing another year of what he did last year, if he could just rinse
Yeah.
and repeat, I think that gets him at least in this like Will Levis tier of
Sure.
quarterback. And I
Definitely.
currently do have a second round grade on him. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much to like pick at. Like, hey, be consistent,
Mhm.
uh, be the decision maker we saw last year. And maybe like there's few mechanics things, but it's not like I don't think there's anything too big.
That's fair. For me, I have Bo as my number 4 QB. Technically graded out as number 3, but I'm gonna give the upside where upside's due. But Bo, again, I mean, I got to see the difference in just the pop when he was able to be healthy throwing the ball versus when he had that ankle injury, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So that obviously takes a lot of throw power off. You can't load up your back leg as much. You can't generate as much torque. You're gonna naturally throw a slower ball, usually more interceptions, pass breakups, which is exactly what happened when I got to see a ball get taken to the house on one of these long throws. It's like, I know I've seen him make that throw before, just wasn't able to put enough oomph on it. So I think, just like you said, another year of that consistency, he's definitely going to be in that Will Levis tier, but I think he goes higher than Will. I don't think he has that big of an ego. He hasn't shown to have that big of an ego, even though I wasn't against Will, but I think that was one of the reasons why he
Are you
ended up.
saying Bo Nix doesn't drink his coffee with mayo in it?
I think that he's not as sophisticated of a palate as Will Levis, and that might be less daunting.
Is that what we're gonna call sophisticated?
I think I'm being very generous. But yeah, he's going to be my number 4 QB. You know, he has a very solid foundation of arm strength, good placement all around, and he's somebody who continued to progress. And I don't think anybody's really been that spectacular from Auburn as of recent. And since the
To be
Cam Newton
fair,
era.
coaching there hasn't been great.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not set up for success. So I'm going to be weighting the Oregon experience a lot higher than the Auburn, and that's why I'm pretty confident that he might be able to continue ascending. I have a late first on him right now.
All right. Well, since he's your 4, I'll go ahead and talk about my 4 because I'm ready for you to crap all over him. As a matter of
Ew.
fact, I'm ready for the comment section to crap
Oh
all
no.
over him. It's Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. Listen, I
Christ.
know he's currently in apparently a heated quarterback battle.
That's a bum.
Though I've read reports that currently he is the leader in that quarterback battle with Spencer Sanders, which golly, dude.
Not hard to do.
Spencer Sanders, dude. But he former 4-star. He's coming in at 6'2", 220 pounds. He was initially at USC before transferring to Ole Miss, and things didn't start off great as he started for Troy at the beginning of the year. Then he was not, I guess, kind of benched or knocked on the depth chart. He ended up coming off the bench in their following game. But then he was the starter from there on out, and the dude's got the frame. You could maybe question at least the arm strength a bit,
Maybe.
but maybe. I think he could push it fine.
We watched it
I-
together. You know damn well you're like, ooh, that ball's slow.
Listen.
Hold on, I'm holding off. I'm holding off.
I think it's fine enough. Yeah, if anything, I like that he can throw at least an accurate ball. He can deliver to all levels of the field. Fine. Hey, dude, he was let down by a poor offensive line.
Yeah.
He was let down by
Number
drops.
3.
That LSU game, I went on PFF. They were like, "Oh, there weren't any drops listed." I watched 4 of them, and I was like, "All right, I don't know who evaluated this game."
Write a letter to
But-
PFF.
Yeah, I know, right? To be fair, I mean, they're always great though, but that was the one time where I was like, "This isn't adding up."
Definitely
like,
not pandering.
That was the thing last year, dude. His offense wasn't giving up anything. We could talk about some of the playmakers he had, but even like Mingo, I saw drop balls consistently. The offensive line was just awful. I think he was dealing with a pair of potentially freshman tackles. Don't quote me on that. Could be thinking of LSU because they had a pair of freshman tackles last year.
There you
But
go.
I think when he was given time or even under pressure, like he showed good ball placement. He put his
Yeah.
pass catchers in optimal opportunities to create after the catch.
Mhm.
I thought I saw some anticipation throws there. I like that he kept his eyes downfield even when scrambling and when the play broke down. He's got a little bit of movement to him. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say he's like incredibly mobile, but I think he's slippery as
Yeah.
a runner. But I will say he does throw with an ego. Like this
Mhm.
dude will try to make throws he can't make.
Yep.
And he will try to put the ball in the tightest of coverages because he thinks he can make that. Like honestly, Bailey Zappi at when he was at Western Kentucky, he had kind of the same thing. It was just for Bailey Zappi, he could back it up,
Yeah.
and he played not in the SEC. So a little
Fair point.
easier for Bailey
Fair.
Zappi, but not to take away anything that Zappi did. But I felt like these guys both kind of like threw with big
Mhm.
headed arms, so to
Yeah.
speak. You're probably going to bring up the lower body mechanics.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
he's atrocious.
yeah. But that's something that is coachable, and I'm hoping Lane Kiffin helps him out with that. Speaking of Lane Kiffin, the offense is also very quarterback friendly. We're talking
Mhm.
RPO heavy,
Yep.
and typically it sets up deep shots pretty darn well. We saw that with Matt Corral as well. He just
Yeah.
had a phenomenal year. His
Mhm.
final season, excuse me. But like honestly, I think he's a tough kid. This guy was like he wasn't rattled when he was benched in week 2, came back and won the starting job the following
Mhm.
week. He was constantly hurt because his offensive line was piss poor, but he played through injury multiple times, even though I would say he didn't come back looking better like the Texas Tech game. I think he looked pretty solid in the Texas Tech game. That was bowl game, but the LSU game, you could kind of tell the play just dropped off a little
Yeah.
bit. He was playing hurt, but like I like this dude. He's a competitor. I think he's got solid enough arm.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping he'll be helped out a little bit more by a little bit more experience there. They bring in Zakari Franklin, who I loved at
That's a good pick.
UTSA.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see more. Michael Trigg will be there, probably getting a bit
Mhm.
more of the starting snaps, like because I think he only played like 200 some snaps last year. So
It
I'm
was small
excited.
ball. Yeah. I mean, he right now, Jackson Dart, is my QB 17. So obviously my
Excuse me.
my my new disparity between the 2.
To be fair,
But
man, I've seen him all over the place on
yeah,
people. I definitely have him higher than
90% of
the
people.
world.
So here's the thing. I totally agree with you on the athleticism. I gave him pretty solid remarks on athleticism. He's obviously not going to be like Anthony Richardson territory, but very solid athlete. I think within 15 yards, pretty damn accurate as well. Very good with his placement. My problem is that arm strength, and he is cocky as hell. He
I
puts the
told you.
ball in places they should not be. And you need that arrogance a little bit in the NFL, but you need to have the arm strength to back it up. That's my big issue. If you do not have a Joe Milton, who we'll probably talk about probably soon, level cannon, you
You
cannot
will.
have that arrogance. You can't have arm arrogance without an arm. And that's the big issue. That's why he's definitely much more farther down my list. Quarterback friendly offense, arrogance, even though he doesn't really earn the right
I
to have that
do
arrogance.
think the arm will get bigger though with better lower body mechanics.
I think so too, but the gap
Not
that I was
saying
talking between,
dramatically, but
yeah,
like,
it's not like the Bo Nix thing where it's like I could tell if he
whoa,
had
whoa,
his
whoa,
lower
whoa.
body strength, that ball would have been made. Like,
Bo
I
Nix
mean,
has a cannon.
well, no, I'm saying the disparity between when he was injured and when he was healthy,
Yeah, I
like the
got you.
difference between the two. I don't think that's going to be NFL caliber necessarily for Dart, but he definitely could be ending up a backup quarterback in the NFL, and that's pretty
I
solid
don't think you necessarily need an NFL caliber arm because you can make the case guys
to be in
like,
the NFL.
well, like I don't think he has an elite NFL caliber arm. Like Joe Burrow, you could say
Yeah.
has a adequate NFL
Mhm.
arm, and I would say Dart's on par with that, if not a little bit better in terms of
We'll
arm
agree to
strength.
disagree. We'll agree to disagree. We'll agree
Okay.
to disagree on that one.
Okay. Well, I talked about my 3 because he was your 5. So who's your 3?
Wait, who's your number 5?
It was Bo Nix.
Oh, wait, who's your 4 then?
It was Jackson Dart, who I just talked about.
Dumbass. I know. Okay, so my number 3 is going to be Drake Maye. So shocker to the world, number 2 on 99.5% of people's lists.
Some number 1.
Some number 1. Definitely top 2 on 99% of people's lists. So I actually have him graded as QB4, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he continues progressing. Obviously, first year starting. Going to give a guy a little bit of slack for that. I don't think he has the caliber of arm that Caleb Williams, Joe Milton has. And I think that's fair. I think off platform, he has one of the most beautiful passes I've ever seen. You know, he makes it probably 1 or 2 times a game. Definitely NFL caliber. I think he's definitely an NFL starter. Definitely a first rounder. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. He's still a great quarterback. I don't like the fact that he's kind of looks like Eli Manning, but runs with his shoulder down like Cam Newton. Because personally, I don't like the fact that
he looks like Eli Manning.
dude, he has the long sleeves, the thinner arms. I don't know. He's just a white dude with a freaking helmet on. I don't know. But, he's definitely more fragile than he thinks. And I'm not a fan of that because the best ability is availability. And for a guy who is not built like Anthony Richardson, Cam Newton, not a huge fan. Even those guys lowering their shoulder. I think that some of his decisions, he also has that arm arrogance. But there also are those plays where we saw Josh Downs, his most famous rep on Twitter, where he runs a whip route. Like he had to go pretty much face to the dirt with his hands beneath the ball because the ball was placed poorly. I don't like the inconsistency of placement, but there are games where it is God tier. So you got to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. But I cannot ignore the fact that there have been plenty of games where the accuracy is extremely inconsistent. The decision making is poor at points, and you just got to call it as it is.
Yeah, he's my number 2. So I will be with 99% of the world there, but he comes from an athletic background. I was like looking at his player profile, and his father played at UNC. His 3 brothers, 2 play basketball at UNC, and the other one a NCAA baseball title at Florida. And I was like, okay, so he comes from a family of athletes. He also played basketball in high school, where he was actually really, really good. So shouldn't even surprise me that his brothers play basketball and he ends up being the guy who's like, yeah, you know what, I'll go play football. But he's got an ideal frame, 6'4", 225. I think he's got a good arm. I really do. I think he's got. I think he can push it downfield. I think the instances that he doesn't, it's because he's like toesy in the pocket, right?
Yes, I think his mechanics need improvement.
Yeah, he won't throw from like a consistent like base all the time, and I think that also led to some of his inaccuracy. Because I remember when he was the second guy I watched, and I was like, man, there's a lot more misses than I was expecting.
Yes.
Even though, like, you look at the adjusted completion percentage, it's pretty solid. But I mean, there were a few layups where it was like, man, if he would have just, been planted feet, just chucking the ball, then you probably get a little bit more control there.
Sure.
I felt like I feel like the pocket poise isn't always great either, that he tends to drift towards pressure rather than just stepping in the pocket. I mean, that led to a lot of turnovers. He had 11 turnover-worthy throws. He had 7 fumbles last season. But the dude plays with a quick processor. I mean, granted, you're playing Mac Brown's offense, RPO heavy. So it's not like there's many decisions there to be made, but he can throw dots. I thought there were times where he just dumped it into the breadbasket of his receivers, whether it was Antonio Green or Josh Downs. I thought he did a great job at that. And yeah, man, he's my number 2, man. I think he's definitely a top 10 guy, or at least he will be when it's all said and done.
Sure. I mean, he is a really awesome player. And, I feel like we were talking about Jackson Dart and his lower mechanics potentially being coachable. I totally believe that in this case, he's also had a lot less experience than even Jackson Dart. I totally can see that being something that's tweakable. So, again, I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt, but you just got to call it as it is.
Didn't even mention he's got a little bit of wheels, too.
Exactly. He can move. He's a very, very good scrambler. I just want him to slide. Just why? For the love of God, I have more
Protect
arm
your
muscle than
body.
him. Like, I literally look bigger than Drake Maye, and, I sure as hell would not be taking one hit alone, and this guy's doing it every single time he's running. It's like, dude, you could just hit a baseball slide, and you are gonna be safe. You gain 1 less yard,
You're
and you
gonna
add
be
another 3 years to your
safe.
career. I know, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, definitely my little grudge right there. So you've named, what, 4 through 2 now, right?
I've named yeah, my 2 through
5 through
5, and
2.
I just have
Yeah.
1. So you let me know who your number 2 is, and I'll wait here to crap on it.
So last year, I began by writing scouting reports for the quarterbacks of the 2023 class. And I had a ballsy claim. Anthony Richardson was my QB2. I saw that one game versus LSU, and I was like, this man has something special to him. And
Oh, that's
obviously,
also the same game you probably loved Justin Shorter in, huh?
yep, that's why I fell in love with Justin Shorter too.
Me too.
Uh, so he actually might play for the Bills too. That's going to be pretty awesome. Regardless, I have a thing for quarterbacks with cannon arms and flashing, unbelievable placement. There's a man who's been going around the Twitter news, the Twitter space, for having pretty much a 70-plus yard deep ball. That name's Joe Milton. He transferred out of Michigan, went to Tennessee, was awful at Michigan. We'll just call it as it is. Not a good player at Michigan.
I don't think
But
he was awful, but
he's not starting at Michigan. That kind of says something. So the fact that he's come to all the way to QB2 for me says a lot. He was sitting behind Hendon Hooker, who we all know had a really, he was pretty damn solid as a half field processor, just somebody who could command an offense pretty damn well. And that's awesome. It's somebody who was a really good mentor for somebody who has a crazy arm, had some crazy decision making issues. And we got to see over the past year that you got to see in the small time that we got to see Joe Milton, his decision making improved tremendously. And it's really the game versus Clemson that I highlight the most because, well, it's one of the only usable starts that he's had. And it's just when you get to see him throw a 75-yard bomb, and it is, I think, maybe like 72 yards, and it hits the wide receiver in the hands, one, that checks off a box because you can hit a deep ball of that tremendous length. Two, he hit a 59-yard pass the next drive. And being able to see somebody have that type of arm, but also be able to tame it, so to speak, with that little experience is really awesome. He's not the athlete that Anthony Richardson is. I think he's a worse version of Anthony Richardson, but he might be a little bit more accurate. And the NFL definitely has a need for somebody like that. But I watched the game with you. We watched it snap by snap. That one play to Brew McCoy in the back of the end zone gave me
that was a good
everything I
throw.
needed. He held the safety in place and put it right on the face mask.
He made one good
25
throw.
yards.
I agree.
Huh?
He
Made
one good throw.
one perfect throw. Perfect.
See,
that NFL perfection throw. And that's why I fell in love with him.
See, I get it. I get why people like it. He's older, value brand Anthony Richardson. Like he's not the athlete that Anthony Richardson is, despite having the size. He's what, like 6?
He's like 250.
6'5", 242.
245. Yeah. Or 240, whatever.
He's somewhere.
He's somewhere.
240 something.
240 something.
Yeah. Not the athlete that Anthony Richardson is. And to be fair, like even when this cat breaks pockets, I like that he keeps his eyes downfield. He wants to be a passer rather than a runner. But when he is a runner, he's a tough to bring down guy. That was also the case in Michigan. I think I watched one of his games in, I think it was 2020, where he played against like Minnesota. But constantly, the thing with him, I didn't think the ball placement was great. I thought he overthrew a ton. And I get it, man. He can make those throws, but I think it's too infrequent. And to be fair, we haven't seen a lot of him just yet. This year will be the good good evaluation of what he really will be. I'm not willing to put my balls on the table like you are.
The balls are on the table.
I know. I heard them. It shook my table.
Why, thank you. I appreciate that.
But the other problem I think he's going to run in at is the same problem Hendon Hooker ran in at. Everyone's going to be crapping on the system there at Tennessee.
Yeah, that system's tough.
Yeah. I mean, well, Problem is, it's not.
Well, no,
You
it's
know?
tough for it to translate. That's why.
Exactly.
It's
It
not
creates a
easy.
lot. Yeah, it creates a
Yeah.
lot of space. You don't necessarily have to make a ton of reads. But I mean, it still involves a lot of anticipation and whatnot. And I think that's still good. Like, I mean, big reason why, like, I think Hendon Hooker still ended up going day 2 despite the injury
Yeah.
and the age. It's like, okay, you saw him just go in and
And
orchestrate that
perform.
offense. He could
Mhm.
run it. On
Yep.
top of that, apparently, he's like an amazing human being,
Individual. Mhm.
individual, which I mean, we all knew that. But yeah, like I'm not willing to put my balls on the table right now for Mr. Milton, but I get it. I understand.
Yeah, and we'll see. Obviously, with more play comes more opportunity to see whether the highs are going to be more consistent or the lows. And I think that the one issue Joe has where you're talking about these overthrows is because when he has that inconsistent mechanic, you're gonna have overweighting on the front leg leading to an overshot. Or there was one play where he scrambled out left and then threw a pass short that should have went into the end zone. It was because he didn't kick his leg through. There's stuff like that that I think is super simple. And even seeing through the game on his most beautiful throws, his mechanics are perfect. So you have reps in there, unlike a lot of these other quarterbacks that show he can do it. Now it's okay. You're in a tough situation. Make it natural for every single rep. And I'm going to put my balls on the table and say that I'm going to bet on the
I
over on that
mean, to
under.
be fair, I feel like you're in a better place betting on Joe Milton than I am with Jackson Dart. So,
I 100% agree.
all right,
Yeah.
who could be number one? Who?
Cam Rising. We'll talk about it.
Terrorizing.
Oh my God. I'll let you have some fun and go off on Caleb.
I freaking love Caleb Williams. I knew he was going to be the first guy I watched, and I loved every freaking moment of it. I remember I actually did a watch along of the game back when he was at Oklahoma, where he came in for a very ineffective Spencer Rattler, led that team to victory. A super exciting game. And then Spencer Rattler just pouts his way to the locker room as this team celebrates on the field. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just saying Spencer Rattler, he had some concerns back then
Sure.
with his attitude. But dude, freaking like Williams, he comes into the perfect like situation there at USC with just immense weapons. Uh Lincoln Riley bringing him over there, so already a offense he was super familiar with, and he just looked fabulous. Like, no kidding, Hendon Hooker, he would have won the Heisman if he didn't go down. But like outside of like Caleb Williams was the only one I think that was within like throwing distance of
Mhm.
the Heisman. It
Yeah.
was Hooker, and then it was Caleb. And then outside of that, you got a bunch of these long shots, in my opinion. This dude's got a great arm. He's got a big arm. I love how he just whips it. He lays mustard on it. To be fair, I think there's times where I'd like to see him throw with more touch, but that's fine. That's something he
Yeah.
can learn later on down the road. I think he's shown patience in the pocket when he needs to, and he actually can go through progressions.
Mhm.
Because we've seen these Lincoln Riley guys from the past, say like a Jalen Hurts, who for the most part it was like, hey, if your first option's not open, go ahead, use those feet. And Williams doesn't have to do that, though he is probably the best mover in this class at the quarterback position.
Definitely.
Like
Yeah.
the all his wow plays are him just extending the play with his feet. It's
Mhm.
freaking amazing. I hate
Mahomes, yeah.
throwing the Mahomes thing, but anytime you see a quarterback drift back and create something from nothing, you're gonna get that Mahomes reference.
Sure.
But I think he's a much more of a threat on his because like as an actual ball carrier, I think he's better than Mahomes. But like, man, this guy can take off and he could just create big plays like that.
Mm.
Can fit the ball in tight windows. Again, throws with that velocity, throws with that mustard on the ball. I think he actually has really good footwork in the pocket. I
Yeah.
think there's little wasted motion, little wasted step to when he sees it, it's gone.
Yeah.
Everything about him is quick from head to toe. 6'1", 220. So on the shorter side, but it is what it is, man. This guy's just special. He's an improviser. He's special. Yeah, there's some nitpicks, but at the end of the day, I think we're nitpicking. Like sometimes when under pressure, he'll throw off his back foot. Fun fact, quarterbacks at the NFL level will sometimes do that. It is what it is. It's something you tell your guys not to do, and they'll occasionally do, because when you're in a freaking pressured situation, sometimes crap happens. And honestly, I don't got much bad to say about him, man. I absolutely loved my viewing experience.
Yeah, Caleb Williams is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm looking over here this whole time trying to find something within my grading that says anything negative about the guy. And yeah, there's sometimes like a ball that's underthrown here and there, but every quarterback misses passes. That's why no one has 100% completion percentage. And I literally cannot find something. I can't. Like, he's top marginal with everything.
It's all nitpicks. It's like, occasionally throws off the back foot. I wish he had more touch. But I mean, the dude's just such a good improviser, man. He's so freaking good. He's got a big arm.
I know.
Literally after I did his first player I looked at in this class, and I went ahead and just put projection first overall.
Yep. See, I have a more robust scoring system than you do. You are more of the qualitative. I'm more quantitative.
Yeah. I hate those metrics, man. They screw with me, dude. I've never been a numbers guy like that.
For me, it's a way of sometimes catching maybe something that I forget when I am going through the tape, where it's like, oh, it's a good way to be like, yeah, I mean, I want to make sure I break up his middle, short, and deep passing accuracy. So when I do quickly re-reference it, I'm like, okay, I don't have to rewatch a whole game in order to remember some of the things that go wrong. And you just keep that in your memory. So power to you. But
I mean, I take notes. I mean,
that's fair.
I feel like with graded systems, it's just so tough because depending on what team you are, you're looking for something different. Like you got to take into account like situations, context, like just putting that into a numeric number.
Yeah,
it's tough for me. I'd rather like look at this guy like, okay, yeah, I feel like these are top 20 qualities.
For sure.
Qualities I would have in a top 20, a top 10, maybe a day 2, a day 3 type of player. And again, it's going to vary based on the team and what specifically they're looking for or what they expect from certain position groups.
Well, the way that you approach it and the way I do may be different, but we still end up liking a lot of the same players, but it also allows us to have
different about guys we like.
Well, it also, the guys we end up having very similar opinions on usually are where we're probably more right than wrong. And it adds some fun conversation when I have Joe Milton at 2 and you don't have him in your top 5. And I have Jackson Dart at 17 and you have him at 4. Like it adds some fun aspect to it because of the fact that, well, I'm not going to put Jackson Dart higher than, someone like Devin Leary, who has the 62 grade when I gave Jackson Dart a 59.5. It gives me more of a justification for my ranking than gut feel, but that doesn't mean that it's right because my grading scale could be off.
Yeah.
So
do you want to add anything about Caleb Williams before we go into honorable mentions?
Let's just go straight into honorable mentions, man. I mean, Caleb, I told you I was trying to find something to nitpick. He has the second best arm in the class.
He is him.
He's him, man. He has the best decision making that I graded. He's up there with the best accuracy short, best with accuracy medium, best accuracy deep in the class, best ball placement in the class, best athleticism in the class, by far the best on the move, best mechanics, best timing, best pocket presence.
I mean, there's a reason we were talking
all
about
categories
this guy as a first rounder. Since he took over for Spencer Rattler.
Literally the game of, we were like, okay, here we go. Game over.
Yeah.
So,
oh my.
Yeah, we're like, whoa.
Are you a number 1 pick? Oh.
Yeah. I want to highlight really quickly about the idea of throwing the Mahomes name out there.
Golly, I hate it. I said Mini Mahomes for Bryce Young, and I was like, dude. And people try to rip it to shreds, and it's like, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. The playmaker aspect is very
relatable
to him, but For me, obviously, I chose Deshaun Watson play style because I heard Mike Renner talk about it. I can't say it's myself.
Ooh,
Yeah, it was Mike Renner.
not bad though. That's not bad. I
It's
like
pretty
that.
good. Yeah, no, I thought about it too. It's like a thinner D-Watt minus the personality concerns. But I think that throwing the Mahomes card is is extremely, extremely tough. I don't think I've ever done it. I might have back when I was an idiot and wanted to get, more ballsy with my claims, but this is the first guy I genuinely feel can actually live up to that name. Like Zach Wilson, it felt Aaron Rodgers-esque, or at least we said a Walmart version of Patrick Mahomes. This guy might be on par, and that's insane. Like,
Yeah.
I genuinely feel that.
He do be good. Well, I'm gonna go over real quick an honorable mention of mine because you mentioned Joe Milton,
Mm.
and I'm like, KJ Jefferson, younger. I
Worst
think
one.
he's got he doesn't have the Joe Milton arm, but I don't think it's too far off. Like he's got a cannon.
I'm not a
And
huge fan of his arm.
huh?
I'm not a huge fan of his arm personally. I
What?
think it dies. Yeah. It might be mechanics thing more than anything, though.
Oh, like it flutters, like his balls hang.
Yeah. His balls hang.
Yeah.
They aren't on the table. They're
And
hanging.
our sponsor, Manscaped. Not really.
Dude, we definitely need to bring Manscaped on at this point.
So yeah, but like the dude's a phenomenal athlete. Like I think he's one of the most deadly ball. He might be the most deadly guy with the ball in his hands as a ball carrier.
Yeah.
In this class, he's got a great size to him. As I pull it up real quick,
He has like close to 250 weight, doesn't he?
yeah. Then like there's a reason why I thought this why he might go
He's
to tight
big.
ends.
Yeah.
6'3", 246.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like he's playing in an offense where he's doing slot or slants, screens, go balls and whatnot. Again, it's a little simplistic, but I don't think it's too far off from what Milton's being asked to do there with that very spacious offense. But I think he's definitely an interesting physical and athletic profile to bring up. We're going to talk about these guys that might have insane traits.
Yeah. Speaking of insane traits, I'll just go balls to the wall here with Shedeur Sanders, who I have graded out as my quarterback number 6 with very, very little tape to studied about him. Just somebody that
I only watched that spring game with you, dude.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I
Yeah.
got on Shedeur.
There's not very much more out there, so obviously our grades are incomplete until we see a lot more. But as of now, because that's all we have, he has that arm power. He has on a level of Quinn Ewers in terms of arm strength. He has some unbelievable placement that can just really jaw drop you. Actually, he's one of those guys that I have really solid across the board in terms of accuracy. He's a really good athlete, obviously, but definitely still tweaking mechanics, definitely still getting comfortable going through progressions. There's a long ways to go, but he's one of those guys I would not be overly surprised to see him take a massive ascension up people's boards. And that's why I'm willing to put my name out on the line for players that I believe in, like Joe Milton, and then now like Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. Next guy I think we have to bring up is Michael Penix out of Washington. Yeah, and like the big for me he would be this like borderline first round pick if not for the injuries because I think there's a lot there. I think he's got a really good arm. I think he sees the field exceptionally well. I think mechanically there's a lot that needs polished, let's say, with him. But again, like mechanics is I don't want to say it's a small thing, but it can be such an easy fix at the next level with the right coaching.
Yeah.
But the injuries are scary. Like they are. Like prior to last season, this guy hadn't completed a full year of college football. Like we go back to Indiana, his freshman year in 2018, had a season-ending ACL injury. 2019 played the first 6 games, and he had a season-ending clavicle. He had a joint in his shoulder. Let's go with that. That ended his season. 2020, it was another ACL injury. And then in 2021, a separated shoulder. This guy at best played 6 games before he got hurt in all 4 of those years. Finally able to play full season last year, but still, man, there's a lot of concern there for me. a lot. So maybe another fully healthy year, and I feel good about. But I don't think me personally, with all that, I don't think I'd ever. I don't know if I'd bank a first round grade on him just because of how scary that injury history is.
I'll be a little bit more ballsy, even though I like Michael Penix more than you do. I don't know if he's draftable. When
Oh, with the
you're not
injuries?
when you're unfortunately having those big injury red flags, we see when guys even like Darnell Washington, who had just some injury concern around his knee, you see what happens because
Luke
I mean, people are
Whippler, you
afraid.
had
Luke Whippler in there, yeah,
Caleb Jones.
yeah, and then I think also Ivan Pace Jr. fell because
Oh,
of some
was it?
injury. I mean, there's no real reason
I
other
mean,
than
shoot, Carson
size, but
Strong, dude,
yeah,
didn't get
Carson
drafted
Strong.
because of the injury concerns.
Exactly, and he just had an issue with his knee. This has been, like, multiple different places on the body year after year, and it sucks to say it because we both like Michael Penix. I fell in love with him watching him versus Ohio State that one year where, like, they really put it to like, they really pushed the pedal to the metal. But it's just unfortunate because the best ability is availability, and if you're not gonna be on the field, you're wasting money in a roster space, and that sounds very rude and, very objective, but, the NFL is a business, and when your team is I mean, look at you're a Dolphins fan, you know exactly what this is like. When you can't trust the health of your quarterback, like, 1, it creates a lot of anxiety, but you also are screwed once they go down. It's not very often you have 2 starter quality quarterbacks. You don't have the Patriots rotation where Bailey Zappi is almost on the level of Mac Jones. It's not saying
I don't
much.
know if that's a good
It's
thing.
not it's not saying much, but you know what I mean. Like, you don't wanna have 2 starting quality quarterbacks. That's unfortunately, if Michael Penix works, what you're going to have to do. And so I have him as my QB 11. That factors in injury concerns.
Oh, me too.
You do?
Yeah.
Hey, let's go. I'm like, I
Hey.
like him more than you do. Well, I mean, to be fair, he's dropped multiple spots. Without the injuries, he would be QB6 for me, but literally he drops that far
Yeah,
numerically because of that. You have to be able to play. And
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't sucks, but there's 53 spots on a roster. There's 44 guys who start. Like, no.
53?
No, there's 53 roster
Oh,
spots.
yeah.
There's 22 that are
Oh,
pretty
I
much
see what you're saying.
starters, and then you got your kick returns, all that shit. So, there's not much room for an extra baggage. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not.
So,
So,
you wanna name one more guy before we go
I
to,
will.
guys we haven't watched but want to?
I have 2 more guys I wanna mention. I
Oh
wanna
my
mention Cam Ward because,
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
it's not gonna be a long spiel about Cam, but I also wanna mention JJ McCarthy because I think that that's one that we need to get a little bit deeper into because a lot of people love JJ, and I can totally
I
see
think
it.
he's a year away.
He definitely could be a year away, but this will also be what talking about him in a year. So could be this year. But yeah, Cam Ward, I feel like he's very similar to Malik. Like when I watched him, I felt very similar to Malik, but I thought he had a worse arm than Malik Willis. And I thought that maybe he had a better processor. That was just kind of like the switch that I saw with him.
Mm,
I feel like he's
I
not
mean,
very polished, but he's definitely someone who has a lot of potential and someone who he's my QB7. So someone who I believe
9.
can make a difference. Huh?
He's 9 for me.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
I really like him, but I just think that there's a lot of tweaking to be had,
Yeah,
and he
and
has that durable.
it's gonna be tough in that Washington State
Yeah.
system too.
Yeah, he's just not really set up for success, but fingers crossed. I wanna hear your thoughts on JJ McCarthy, though, because you just said he's a year away, but what about him screams that to you? Because I have my own reasons.
All right, so he needs to put on a little bit more weight, which he will. He's young.
Yeah,
He's under that 200 threshold, but he's got the frame to put on more size. It's fine.
for sure.
So I put here that he doesn't process the field well. That at times he'll stare down hot reads, and if they aren't open, he'll
Mm,
just hit the check down or run the football. To be fair, as Michigan opened up the offense later in the year, I thought he did a much better job of
yeah.
that. So that was something that did get better in the year. I thought that he was occasionally inaccurate
Mhm.
and ball placement wasn't always ideal. I thought there was really just some struggles over the middle, mainly like the short to intermediate. And to be fair, with the rookie quarterback, like if you let's say you draft this guy first round, like rookie
Mhm.
quarterbacks get fed off by defenses in the middle of the field. That's
Yeah.
where they try to push these quarterbacks to go to the middle of the field and just force bad plays, force turnover worthy throws.
Yeah.
So I thought that was something that was still coming along for him. And I thought some of this was actually like mechanic related, like with the lower body.
Sure.
Yeah, like wrote here that sometimes he has a short step on his release and he'll rely more on his arm rather than his hips for torque.
Mm.
So I also mentioned a fumbling problem. I saw this in the spring game that he really holds the ball now tight when stepping in the pocket and he kind of like short arms it.
Yeah.
If he feels like pressure coming around, because I think last year he actually had a lot of balls just knocked out of his breadbasket because he was kind of willy-nilly with it when he was in the pocket. But didn't see too many touch passes from him, but that's not the end all be all. And he just wasn't good under pressure, but he was also a younger quarterback. And to be fair, we were crapping on CJ Stroud under pressure. We were crapping on Will Levis under pressure last year. So that's always kind of a constant thing.
Well, to be fair, not many quarterbacks can have. So it is definitely valid to talk about quarterbacks performing under pressure because the NFL, the pass rushers improve, so is the offensive line, but I feel like the pass rushers a little bit more consistent in the NFL because they last a lot longer and the talent seems to be a little bit more consistently high.
I mean, it is a volatile stat or analytic because
pressure in general is different every single time.
Exactly.
It's not like the defense is the same spot every single time there's pressure, of course. It's not something that's just a 1-to-1 ratio. But
I mean, if they're performing well when under like ideal situations, clean pockets, just give me a general like what is this guy when everything is going well? What does he look like?
Yeah. But for me, I like to also look into the chaos. That's something I do value quite highly.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, honestly, that's kind of where you start nitpicking, you know?
Of course.
This is where these guys start separating from one another.
Yes. And that's probably what separates them from being an NFL starter versus being not even on an NFL roster versus being an XFL type starter. But JJ's still fun. JJ's a good quarterback. Again, I'm just going to echo it. He had one of the worst decision-making / progression grades that I've given out, as well as in terms of ball placement. And that's not that bad. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's definitely something where placement is something you get with more chemistry and better mechanics. And I think decision-making and progression happens with experience. So those are two categories that I think are translatable to a boost versus arm strength, not going to be the case. Mobility, not going to be the case. Out of structure, that's up in the air because that's very much to your inner core, how you react to something. That's not really exactly a learned trait. That's more like nature than nurture. So definitely has some high marks around. I have him the same grade as Michael Penix, but we'll definitely see overall over the past year, over the next year.
Yeah, I mean, it won't surprise me if we're talking about him again in 2025.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, especially with these guys at the top.
Yeah. So on to a guy that I haven't got to, but everyone's talking about. Just again, kind of real quick, just kind of mention guys we haven't watched yet. You know, and I will like you were talking about Shadur. You know, I haven't watched him. I haven't watched Riley Leonard out of Duke, and he's a name that is being thrown around a ton right now. Yeah. So like he is going to be a part of my like right before the season. It's like I gotta watch this freaking Duke kid. To be fair, I thought he looked good in the Pittsburgh game. I was watching it for Graham Barton and who's on the defensive side because I was just kind of flipping between
Pitt's
the two.
Defense.
No,
didn't really have anybody this past year.
No. Duke, Dwayne.
Oh, they had Dwayne Carter,
RJ Oben. Those were the two. Yeah, I was just kind of like shuffling that game in general, and it's actually a really sick game to watch. So I mean, I was like, okay, he looks like a gamer, but again, haven't really dedicated anything to watching him, and I just wanted to throw his name out there before we see him in the comment section.
I want to mention Grayson McCall, and he's going to be the last guy I mention. I have yet to fully dive into the tape with him
I have
just
last
because.
2 years.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know. I wanted him to declare before I made my final decision because the offense itself, not necessarily extremely translatable. And I hear enough about all the breakdowns from you.
He got
So,
screwed. Like,
yeah,
he was
try to
gonna
transfer.
transfer and then he got hurt. He
Yep.
got screwed because he's a team player.
Yep.
He ugh.
And that it's a shame. It's a big shame, but he's definitely somebody who still has great leadership qualities. Could ending up in the NFL. I would personally love to see some of these quarterbacks that we are mentioning down the board go to the XFL, ball out, and then get a really good contract with an NFL team. I'm really begging that some more players are gonna opt for that route rather than sit on the
Take
bench.
the PJ Walker route.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, PJ Walker has earned himself a stint in the NFL for a while
Yeah,
now.
he's the
Just because of
where's
that.
he backing up right now?
Is he at the Bears? I think he
Oh,
might
I
be on
do
the
I
Bears.
do think that's where he's at.
Yeah. But you need some of these players really need to take that route because you might end up just sitting on the bench or on a practice squad and get phased out, and you could really be playing and getting in front of the eyes of a lot of people, including NFL scouts, and showing the talent that you have. And that's their job in college. But if you don't get to move the needle enough in college, it's a way to show that against higher level talent, you can still perform. So I'm hoping guys like Grayson McCall end up taking that route. Assuming that I'm right and you're not about Jackson Dart, I hope that he does that route as well. If not, maybe if you're right about Joe Milton, I hope Joe Milton takes that route. Just a lot of these quarterbacks,
I'm just ready. I'm just ready for Spencer Sanders to win that job.
Dude, stop. I'm rooting for you right now by saying Spencer Sanders should not.
I'm just preparing my heart to be broken because I watched Dart last year and I was like, man,
Yeah.
I constantly felt like he was let down by his team.
I mean, again, I totally agreed with you. Like
Even nice like passes and then fumble. Like his receivers would fumble. And it's like, can this guy catch a break?
He's pretty accurate. But we already went over that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
You got anybody else you want to mention?
No, not in particular. I guess Michael Pratt out of Tulane.
I got to tear up
yeah,
SMU.
I haven't devoted sitting down and evaluating him.
Yeah.
I just watching him in the Oklahoma. I think it was Oklahoma last year that they played.
Tripping.
Could have been even the year before, but definitely the USC game. The dude's a gamer, but haven't sat down and actually gave him a faithful watch. So can't say much about him, but he is definitely another one of the guys that I want to get done before the season.
Definitely. So I think that's it.
Yeah.
You want to close it out?
Yeah. Well, shoot, this is our what do they call it? Our first episode.
The pilot episode.
Our pilot episode. So go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Check out our other channels. You're probably coming from those. You're probably already subscribed to those anyway. Yeah. So cool. Support us here at DraftBros because we're looking to put out more fun content for you because now we got two voices here bickering about their good takes, their bad takes, their weird takes. So go ahead and support it and be involved in the conversation. Hit us up in the comment section below. As I say, let's have that nice, beautiful, sensual, intimate football discourse. And yeah, Alex, if you want to tell them goodbye, I'm going to let go Joe in.
All right. Well, you guys know exactly what to do. Listen to the schmo and come back and hang out with your bros. See you later. Peace.